Dun 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 dun! Kim Tran here, reporting from the Leukemia Lymphoma Society right outside the local International House of Pancakes. Anonymous sources have told me that IHOP is supporting the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in a riveting yet impactful icon sales campaign, all leading up to National Pancake Day this spring. Let's fact check this and make sure it isn't fake news. The only way to do this, I'm told, is through this cheesy training video that's designed to be both informative yet as least boring as possible so as to keep you from falling asleep on or off the clock. With that, let's continue our team coverage and turn it over to Kim Tran, who is ready to go inside behind the scenes there in that IHOP. Kim, over to you. Oh, sorry, caught me off guard, didn't see you there. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is the world's largest health organization dedicated to fighting blood cancer. Our mission's pretty simple. It's two parts. Thank you. The first part of our mission is to cure all types of blood cancers. So you have leukemia and lymphoma. There's also Hodgkin's disease and myeloma. That's the first part of our mission. The second part of our mission is to improve the quality of life for our patients and their families.
Today, over 1.3 million Americans are either in treatment for or in remission from a blood cancer. And the statistics are pretty staggering. Once every 3 minutes, someone is newly diagnosed with a blood cancer. But sadly, once every 10 minutes, someone loses their fight and passes away. That's why the dollars that you raise at IHOP are so important for LLS. The money is used for research, advocacy, and patient services.
So let's take a look at the icons. These are what we're trying to sell, right? They should look familiar. You've got the gold one on the left. That's a $20 donation. The orange one is $10. The red is $5. Now, how much do you think the blue icon is? Were you going to say $1? Nah, I don't want you guys to think of the blue icon as the $1 icon. Instead, think of it as the less than $5 icon, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But first, for those who have never done this before, if you are successfully selling one of these denominations, ask the customer to write their name in the white space, tear off the coupons at the bottom, give those to the customers, and save the icon to be hung up on the walls of the restaurant later on. So, the $20 icon. The first offer at the bottom is $5 off of your next visit, so that's pretty straightforward. It's a $5 value for the customer. Next, in the middle, you've got 20% off of your next visit. Now, let's think about this hypothetical. Is it fair to say that if a couple came in and each bought an entree and 2 beverages, that their total might be somewhere around $25? Well, based off of that math, 20% of $25 is about a $5 savings. Now, on the other hand, please recognize that this middle coupon has the potential to save the customer much more. Let's say a party of 10 walks in and sits down and then uses this 20% off coupon. 20% off of a bill of 10 different people is going to be a lot more. So that's why we have 5 plus there at the bottom. Lastly, that third coupon is buy one entree, get one entree for $1. Now, as I understand it, your most expensive entree on the menu is the T-bone. Depending on market, it's about $14.99. So, if customer A buys a T-bone dinner for $14.99 and customer B only pays $1 for it by using this coupon, they're saving about $13.99, $14. Off of that math, it's a $14 value. So if you add those 3 at the bottom up, 5, 5, and 14, that's a $24 savings for the customer, or more, because remember, that middle coupon, 20% off, could save them a lot more than that $5 example. Now on the flip side, don't forget that by selling the gold icon, LLS is also getting $20 to help beat cancer. So if you add up the impact for the customer and the impact for LLS, that's a $44 savings or impact in total. So now let's take a look at the orange $10 icon. The first 2 coupons at the bottom are pretty straightforward. $1 off of your next visit, another $1 off of your next visit, and the last coupon is one that we saw before. Buy one entree, get one entree for $1. So, with that T-bone example, it could be a savings about $14 depending on market. Add those 3 numbers at the bottom up, you get a $16 savings for the customer, and don't forget that $10 is going to help beat cancer through LLS. So, the total impact of the orange $10 coupon is actually $26. Then you've got the $5 red icon. $1 off your next visit, $1 off your next visit, and another $1 off a different visit. So the customer gets $3 in coupons, but $5 goes to LLS. So that's an $8 impact in total. Now, this is new this year. It's the coloring page. For those customers who happen to have kids in their party, you can offer the coloring sheet to them if they donate $5 or more. The kids can color it and it can be hung up on the wall, or they can take it with them, whichever is their choice. Lastly, that blue icon. Again, don't think of it as a dollar. Why? Imagine this. If you ask a customer for $1, they might give you $1. And after 100 people, if everybody said yes, that would be $100 that you would raise for LLS. Now, let's go back. If they are hesitant on the $5 red icon, if that's too much for them, instead of asking for $1, ask open-endedly. You could phrase it like, well, how much would you like to help out today? In that situation, you're putting the ball in their court. Sure, they might just say $1, but since it was open-ended, they also might say $2 or $3. And then after that example of 100 people, you could have potentially raised $200 or $300. Now, I know this is a small change in the way you ask, but if you approach the blue icon this way, along with the other 130 plus IHOPs who are selling this blue icon, think about how much more money we could raise to help impact LLS in your local communities. So, the blue icon, don't think of it as $1, think of it as less than $5. So I'm blind as a bat, so I'm putting my glasses back on for some real talk. All of this leads up to National Pancake Day. So for those of you who are not familiar or have not gone through the craziness and mayhem of Pancake Day, the premise is that any customer in the entire country can walk into any IHOP restaurant and get a free short stack of pancakes. But the idea is that instead of just getting a free short stack, that we ask the customer to contribute what they would have paid for that short stack to instead make a donation to the charity of choice, which here in the Mid-Atlantic, we really appreciate that IHOP partners with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. To alleviate the craziness of that day, you have our pledge that LLS will be doing our best to recruit volunteers on the day of National Pancake Day, so that on that day, you can focus on cranking out pancakes and turning around tables, while the LLS volunteer will take lead in asking for contributions. But right now, today, and all the way leading up to National Pancake Day, we ask that you be our voices and advocates for our patients and families by selling these icons. Hey, we recognize that you have tons that you have to ask each table for. Surveys, food temperatures, beverage counts. So please really know that we truly and sincerely appreciate when you ask your customers about LLS. It makes our hearts happy, and it's really helping the patients and families who we serve. Side note, my personal favorite thing to order on the go from IHOP is the turkey bacon avocado wrap. At this point, I'd love to introduce you to Grant. Grant is our IHOP honored hero for this season. If you don't have a personal connection yourself, let Grant serve as the face of the campaign. So a little bit about him. He's 4 years old, from Leesburg, Virginia, and was diagnosed with leukemia in May of 2017. In that time, he's undergone 5 rounds of treatment, including oral chemotherapy and bone marrow biopsies. But he has the great support system of his family. His younger sister Hadley, his mom and a dad, who all collectively refer to him as Grant the Champ. The best news about Grant is that he's currently in remission. He's a survivor! So again, show Grant around, point to his picture on the poster, and let him serve as the face of the campaign if you don't have a personal connection yourself. You should also see Grant's photo on the event poster. Here you can see it hung up on the front counter, as well as on the menu clip, or some stores are using them as a placard to display by the register or even on the table. Track your restaurant's progress to goal with this thermometer poster. My last year in Richmond, I worked for like a shift, so I could get a sense of like what you guys go through to understand how I can support you all. You guys have way too many pancake mods, that's for sure. Yeah. All right, anyway, going back to our tips, right? So let's first start with tips for servers. When should you ask? Now take everything I'm about to go over. Understand that you should probably adapt it to your market, right? I've done this for 3 years and servers have given me a lot of tips. What I'm presenting may or may not get a warranty. You guys know your customers the best, right?
But one idea is to start asking them after they have their drinks and before they get their food. That time in between when they're at the table waiting anyway. It's a good time to go in. And again, I recognize that on senior night, you may not have a chance to do that. But maybe on a slower, like Tuesday afternoon, you have a chance to like talk to them, have more conversation about it. All right, so what should you do? One strategy that has worked well for a lot of stores is to rip one icon off of each of the pads and write void at the bottom. I wrote it in Sharpie so that you can see it, but maybe write it in ballpoint pen so that the customers can read through the word void and look at the fine print. I put the $20 icon on top, so it's the first one that they see, because remember we said it's the best value, right? I also wrote down at the bottom the value of each coupon, kind of like we did in the slides, right? 5, 5, and 14 plus for the T-bone. So, if you're swamped and you don't have a lot of time to do the conversation, just say something like, okay, I just want to leave this with you. We're supporting LLS. These are some coupons that you can look over, and I'll come back and check on you a little bit if you want to consider making a contribution. So then you put it on the table, and then they look at it, right? And it's written void, so they can't just like take the coupons off themselves. So that's one strategy. I will also share that my Winchester store of the Kerner Group, they actually have a laminator in their store. So instead of like doing this and potentially getting ratty over the next 10 weeks, they laminated it and they used the menu clip to put on the front so that, again, seeing grants, and then they clipped it with like a bookbinder, a book brand, or here, right? So that's an idea, just throw that out there. But the point is to highlight the value of the coupons at the bottom. Make the customers educated and realize how much of a good, because $20 is a lot to ask a customer, right? When you go to like the grocery store or like the Pet Mart, they might ask you for a donation, but it's never like $20, right? So there's a reason why we have the coupons to make it more enticing. Okay, so how should you go about it? Again, this may or may not work, but my #1 server in Richmond has success because she will crouch down and ask at eye level. So it's more of a peer-to-peer ask versus like standing up and looking down and potentially the intimidation factor. So again, making it more conversational. And then explain your why, right? So Rosemary has asked me to go serve at Fredericksburg Central Park on January 18th. So I will be doing a shift this year with your group. And on that day, my personal why is probably that I'll mention my grandmother who passed away from stage 4 brain cancer, and I'll mention my mom who is a breast cancer survivor. Now you might be saying neither of those are blood cancer. I think it's important for you all to know that the money that you help raise enables LLS to pass drugs through the FDA that are now being used to treat many other cancer types. Brain, ovarian, prostate, even like multiple sclerosis and rheumatoid arthritis. So your impact, the money that you help us with, is not just limited to blood cancer. It's positively affecting the entire cancer field, right? So that's one way to approach it. If you don't have a personal connection like I do, then use Grant. Use Grant as your personal connection and tell his story, right? A lot of times when a customer realizes that a child is being impacted by their contribution, and a local one at that, here in Leesburg, they might have more of an emotional connection and be willing to contribute, right?
And in case you were wondering, my favorite color is green, like the broccoli in the tilapia Florentine.
Okay, so the question is, why should a server, a manager, a combo, a host, or anyone working in our organization support LLS? The answer is, because I said so. No. The reason that we do it is to give back to the community, to help others who are in need of help, to do some good. Maybe you've been touched, maybe you haven't. The problem is maybe one day you will if we don't cure this cancer. So we all need to work together to try and make our small amount of time that we really, really work hard to try and make a cure happen, to collect as much as we can. So all I'm going to ask you to do is make it happen for your heart, for your guests, for your families, for our future as a group. Thank you.
Please ask every single customer.
That's right. Don't forget to ask every single customer.
The worst the customer can say is no.
But they won't have the opportunity to say yes if you don't ask them.
Beating cancer is in our